Well, we've made it. It's September. The dog days of summer are just about over. We're moving into what promises to be a really exciting fall season. And this is a time of the year when I really like to reflect on what I saw during the spring, what I saw during the summer. And I periodically do a video like this where I talk about what lures were working, what I've learned out on the water, stuff like that. And I've been out on the water a ton this year. Did a lot of guiding. I did a lot of fishing on my own from the kayak and from the boat. And I went out and I filmed with some of the best trout and salmon anglers on the West Coast, bar none. I learned a lot. There's a lot of takeaways. I'm a big believer in reflection, and that, whether it's a professional reflection on what you're doing at work, what you're doing in your life, and it certainly applies to fishing. One of my goals every time I go fishing is to learn something new. If you're one of those guys that thinks you know everything there is to know about fishing, you're never going to become a great angler, because fishing is always evolving. Fishing is always changing. You know, there's new innovations, there's new products, there's new methods. And to really achieve as an angler, to become the best angler you can be, you need to be a sponge for that kind of information. You need to be able to reflect on the experiences you've had out on the water. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever it is. Every time you go out on the water, one of your goals should be to learn something new. So let's jump into it. I'm going to show you some footage, and then I'm going to talk about those experiences and why they really jumped out, why they really stood out to me.
Good. Right up here. Look at the size of that fish. Stay out. Rod tip down low. Stay low with the rod tip. Stay
trout.
low. Stay right there with the rod. Now, don't bring it to me. Stay right out there. Go down. Here he comes. A little bit of a lift now. Little lift. Oh my Lord. Holy shit. Look at that fish. Wow. Isn't that something?
That is beautiful.
So this is an old hatchery fish. It's a holdover. If you look at the one fin.
Oh yeah, you got a little messed up fin.
Yeah, but this is a hen that's just about spawned out. So it's a female. Yeah, go ahead. You can bring her out of the nose there. And I'm going to bring her up to you.
Nice.
You just hang on to that. I want a picture of that for myself. Oh, my God. That's pretty big.
That's got to be 18 inches.
Oh, yeah. All of that. Hang on.
Yeah, that's a nice fish.
Oh, holy cow. Did you get that?
Maybe.
Oh, my Lord.
Maybe.
That thing just smoked that thing right at the boat. Look at the size of this fish. Look at that thing. Oh.
Definitely got that.
Whoa.
Damn that. Oh, now I got the other line.
Man. And Trout, just follow him, Cal, with that one.
Yeah.
Just follow him. Here he comes. We gotta come in. Oh, man.
That's cool. That's a nice fish.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Look at that. That thing came smoking in like a steelhead on
I know.
Run. Just boom, he just crushes it.
Wow, that's a big fish.
Here we go. One more, Abdul. Right at me.
Nice fish.
Wow. Excellent.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So that incredible, beautiful rainbow trout that looked like a steelhead was caught this spring during a trip with Brett Brady, Bullards Bar Reservoir, which is not known as a trout fishery, really. This trip stands out to me for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is I had an absolutely horrendous migraine that day. It was brutality. One of the worst migraines I've probably had in 10 years. But nevertheless, I captured a lot of it on video, and it was very informative. It was a very informative day out on the water. Brett is an expert fisherman. First big takeaway is he was catching those trout on a soft plastic Brady bug, which is really a bass style bait. It's a soft plastic on a jig head. Now let's talk a little bit about soft plastics, whether we're talking about my Trout Trick series of minnows and worms, the Brady bug, whatever. I can tell you that the new frontier of trout and salmon fishing is soft plastic baits, and we have barely we have just barely scratched the surface on the potential of the soft plastics. And I encourage each and every one of you guys out there, if you have an idea of how to use soft plastics in a new and different way, do it. Your experimentation is just as valid as mine. It's just as valid as Brett's. Those baits have special qualities. They feel lifelike. They look lifelike. They hold scent really, really well. I'm convinced that there are some devastating techniques that are going to develop around soft plastics. It just takes guys like you and me to get out in the field, get an idea, test the idea, refine the idea, and you might be on the cusp of an earth-shaking technique that's going to change the trout fishing world. It's happening. It's happening slowly, but we are one innovative idea away from creating a new fishing method for trout and salmon. So that's one takeaway. You know, I'm over there trolling soft plastics. Brett's out there. He's throwing soft plastics and he's working them along the bottom, and he's catching big, beautiful trout that look like steelhead at a place not known for trout fishing. Takeaway number 2, and I talked a lot about this to Brett, both that day and in subsequent days out on the water. The situation there is early spring. When you've got rain, you've got color in the tributaries, and you have an increased flow in the tributaries. That condition serves to concentrate the trout where the tributaries enter the lake. You could, by happenstance, catch a big, beautiful rainbow like that at Bullards Bar any day of the year. One. Okay. Brett figured out, he determined where those fish are concentrated and vulnerable to his efforts. He needs the high flow. He needs the color in the water. It's an early morning technique by and large, but if the water's cloudy, it'll extend later into the morning. But he has figured out where those trout concentrate, and then he employs the Brady bug to cast to them, to catch them. Other guys have done similar work with spinners and stuff like that. But Brett has definitely created that technique around the Brady bug, and it works very, very well for him. In talking to him about that situation, he's all, I guarantee you, any lake that has tributaries, that has trout, that situation exists. That's a takeaway for you. That's another takeaway from you guys out there in Catch America land. Early in the spring, flows are up. That's a place you go to seek out those fish, and you've really got to tailor your technique to the conditions that exist at that headwater area. Okay, we were in a big jet sled. We were a long way from the ramp. It was too small up there to troll, too narrow, too shallow. Now, if I were up there in my kayak, I probably could have trolled for those trout, but I would have had to start pedaling at 3 a.m. or something, because it was many, many miles from a point of access. So just remember that whether you're at Stampede, Folsom, Pardee, wherever, when you've got those increased inflows in the spring, that is a place where the rainbows will often concentrate, and they become very vulnerable to the angler in that situation. So kind of make the most of it.
Stopped yet? It stopped. I'm breathing. But is he stopped, or are you still losing line? No, stopped.
Good deal.
There you go. Side of the boat's yours, Bill.
Brian and I can't go to one side of the boat at the same time. We'll flip.
No, do they bulldoze like salmon and?
Do they what?
Do they go down?
Yeah, they'll try to get down. The browns especially. Browns and the smallies.
The cutthroats do that a lot.
Okay, get your rod tip up a little higher. I want to be able to see that. There you go.
Oh, he's going under the boat.
That helps me get.
Lean out.
Coming back here.
There you go.
Oh wow, it's a beautiful fish.
Oh yeah, look at there.
Alright, bam.
Oh wow. Okay.
So now he'll just chill. Watch how calm. See how calm he is right now.
Uh huh.
When you put him in that cradle, it
just simmers them down. If they're in the box on their own,
Oh, they start swimming
they'll swim around. They'll beat their heads into the side of the box and stuff.
Oh.
You put them in this cradle.
Yeah, okay.
And you can,
So that's like what steelhead guys use.
Yep. So
Oh,
now
nice.
we've got
That's sweet.
a nice male brown here, real pretty colored.
Yeah, he's awesome. Look at his face.
And he can just kind of hang out right here.
Oh man, look at his jaws. Oh my gosh.
And the nice thing is we can get set up for pictures, we can clear lines, we can do whatever we need to do, and the fish is good. We got water running in the box. Now this is definitely, the water's cold right now. This works. You have to be really careful with them when the water's warm up here. They turn into really big babies and don't revive well at all. Get him centered up. So that one's gonna be, look like about a little over 5.5.
Nice. Abdul and I had the opportunity to hit Lake Almanor this spring with Brian Rakucci of Big Daddy's Guide Service, and we enjoyed outstanding action. We caught big browns. We caught big smallmouth bass, and I lost what I assume was a big brown. I just had him on for a second, but man, oh man, he felt like a horse. Of course, Lake Almanor. Lake Almanor is one of the premier trophy trout fisheries on the West Coast. It just is. There are rainbows there that go into the double-digit size range. 10-pound rainbows exist at that lake, and if you've been watching the channel long, you know it's my ambition to catch one of those. My best one is just short of 8 pounds. Brown trout, I don't know how big the browns get out there. Certainly 15 pounds, maybe more. Okay, that's the good news. The fish are there, and a side order of trophy smallmouth. My personal best smallmouth there was like 6 pounds, 14 ounces, something like that. An absolute beast. That's the good news. Lots of trophy fish at Almanor, lots of fish at Almanor. There's lots of forage at Almanor, and it can be an extremely difficult lake to fish. I'm always on my heels when I'm at Almanor. I've been fishing it for practically my whole life, and I still never really feel comfortable when I'm at Almanor. But it's the trophy fish that keep me coming back. Now, let's talk about Brian Rakucci. He is a master trout angler. He is. And one of the takeaways I always have when I'm out on the water with Brian is that his knowledge level is way up here, okay? His approach to catching the fish is always really simple. And I've kind of tried to pattern some of my approaches to Brian's. He has a real keep it simple philosophy. That day that Abdul and I were on the lake, the presentation wasn't really the story. I've got a plug here. We were pulling big plugs. This isn't the plug we were pulling. Of course, Brian, crazy trophy trout guys. Oh, don't take a close-up of my plug. I didn't, but I'll tell you what. The plugs we were pulling were very similar to this Yozuri. He had doctored them up with some custom black spots. If you remember back in the day when we had the coach dog pattern that was really popular in striper fishing, that's essentially what the plugs look like. They were light colored, they had spots, but the plug and the presentation weren't the story. Here's the story. Because Brian is a student of the game, he knew exactly where those trout were going to be, and he'd figured out, just like Brett had figured out at that headwater fishery, Brian had figured out how to fish that situation. Now, the presentation was simple. We were dragging those plugs around at a fairly fast clip, and the fish were biting them. Okay, that's fantastic. But what didn't come through in the video is the fact that we were right up on shore. We were surrounded by big scary rocks, and Brian was navigating his, $100,000 boat through a sea of boulders. He knew those trout were there, and he was also maneuvering the boat to pull those plugs through water where the boat hadn't been, if that makes sense. So here's a big takeaway. Keep things simple, number one. Keep things simple, okay? Be a student of the game and a student of the lakes you fish, And remember, if you're trolling, don't think of it as individual rods fishing. Don't think like that, okay? Get the baits in the water. This is the mindset when you're trolling. This is the same mindset I have when I'm trolling, and all good trollers have. I'm fishing these baits with the boat. I'm making the presentation with the boat. I'm not just trolling in a straight line, and if I get a bite, I get a bite. If I don't get a bite, I don't get a bite. I have an idea or experience has told me there are fish in this given spot, and I am going to use this boat to present these baits to those fish. In reality, everybody on the boat when you're trolling, yeah, they reel in fish. You know who's catching the fish? The captain, the guy that's steering the boat. He's the guy that is positioning those baits in such a way to catch the fish. And there's a lot of factors that the captain may be looking at. One, he's got intel. He knows, in Brian's case, he knew those fish were up in those rocks feeding in the springtime. Okay, that was going on. Sometimes it's wind. Sometimes it's a unique situation. I think about my favorite spot at Collins Lake back in the horseshoe back there. Got 30, 40 feet of water offshore, and it gets right up into 8, 6, 5 feet of water up on the mudflat. Not a super trouty spot, but experience on the lake, trial and error on the lake, told me that at times, big trout like to move up on that mudflat. When is the time? Any time I have wind. Typically in the spring when I'm there and there are a lot of trout in the lake, that wind is going to kick in anywhere between like 11 and 2 o'clock. When that happens, I want to get the boat up on that mud flat. I pull flies, I pull soft plastics, and I have caught some absolutely epic trout back there for my clients. So be a student of the game, fish your entire boat, not just one rod here and one rod there randomly, and that is going to really put you ahead of the game. That's often why you'll go out, you'll see the private guys, the weekend warriors, they're going to go out to a lake and they're going to catch 3 or 4 trout, and guys like Brian and I, we're going to go out to the lake and we're going to catch 15 or 20 trout. It's because we keep the baits in the water. We cut out a lot of extraneous travel. We keep the boat in the zone. And when we see the conditions come together where we know we really have an advantage, we take maximum advantage of that situation. And you should too. So here's my rig. Same one I was using last night. Haven't changed a thing. That big 6-inch, 24-karat gold blade. The pink and purple T-Pex. I'm going to put it 25 feet back. Target speed 1.3. I'm already seeing some kokanee on the screen, so hopefully it won't take long to get one on the end of the line. That didn't take long. 30 feet down. They're a little shallower this morning, which is understandable. First thing in the morning, they would be a little shallower. Hooked up, baby. Hooked up. There he is. Right there. That's what a kokanee looks like when a Mackinaw hits him. You can see cuts from the teeth. He's missing a bunch of scales. He'll still eat fine, but those Mackinaw, they're very aggressive, and this is one of their primary food sources. Nice fat little kokanee. Get him in the box, and 9 to go. Kokanee, and more kokanee. We had a rip-roaring kokanee season this summer in northern and central California. Just absolutely great fishing, and I did a lot of it on my own and with guides. I filmed a lot of kokanee being caught. It was just hands down a great kokanee season across the state. For the most part, the fish were fairly large by California standards. They were chomping, and guys were having a blast catching them. As for me, I love catching kokanee. I'm a good kokanee fisherman. I've been coached by some of the best kokanee guys there are. I made a very comprehensive kokanee DVD a few years ago. but they don't capture my imagination the way that trout and king salmon do. It's because when you're catching kokanee, if you're catching 15-inch kokanee, you're catching 15-inch kokanee. You're not going to catch a 25-inch kokanee. It doesn't work like that with kokanee. With rainbows and kings, you could be catching 12-inch fish and all of a sudden catch a fish that weighs 8 pounds. That's just the way it is with trout and salmon fishing. So I'm more of a trout and king salmon guy. Having said that, I've seen and partaken in a lot of kokanee fishing over the years, and it's a pretty straightforward, pretty simple sport for the most part. My hands down favorite offering for years has been an Uncle Larry spinner in a few different colors, teamed with a Dodger. You know, of course, I'm tipping it with corn. The big takeaway for me from this kokanee season, though, was the utter domination by those baits right there. The T-Pex, the Catch America T-Pex. It was working everywhere. It was the go-to bait for a lot of anglers. They were relying on it to get their fish, and it just kept producing fish after fish after fish. And I saw a lot of big rainbows and big kings caught incidentally on a corn-tipped T-Pex pulled behind a 6-inch Dodger, particularly the 6-inch Catch America Dodger that is plated in 24 karat gold. That blade was money. Now, I saw fish caught on T-Pexes in a variety of colors. I had a very good outing with Big Nate. We were using that color right there. For me, these baits with the pink and purple with spots like that one right there, this one right here, they were the ones that were really working well for me on my trips. But this is a new bait for me. First time I ever fished them was this year. I'd fished apexes before a lot. A lot of guys were complaining, man, my apexes aren't working this summer, but my T-Pexes are absolutely killing the fish. So that was a surprise to me. That was something new for me. Again, you're always trying to learn out there, and I learned just how devastating the T-Pex can be. Will it be the same way next summer? Who knows? Kokanee are fickle. They might want something completely different. But I'll tell you what, my first kokanee trip next spring, guess what I'm going to be pulling? At least on one rod, I'm going to have a T-Pex on, because on the kokanee fishing scene, this was the summer of the T-Pex, and it was the summer of the 6-inch blade. That combination, that 6-inch 24 karat blade with the T-Pex, it was money. It was utter devastation out on the water. I think Big Nate pulled that for probably 3 straight months out on Lake Berryessa. Limits every day, and a lot of nice bonus trout, bonus kings, occasionally a big bass. The T-Pex, man, it is the real deal.
On the Chinook Diver, and we're going to talk about these divers. Now, it was this guy, Robert, that turned me on to the Dipsy Diver, but it was Jeff that turned me on to the metal Chinook Diver. And I gotta tell you, the Dipsy Diver catches fish, but nothing catches fish like this Chinook Diver. And clearly, it hooks kokanee too. And we'll take a look at it when he gets it up.
We use these Chinook Divers for kings, rainbows, browns, and kokanee.
I've caught hundreds of trout on them this winter. Just,
they're fantastic.
they're fantastic.
Fish and take?
Yeah. So here comes the diver. Pop the trigger, and there's the fish. And he's got a regular Dodger and spinner combo back there. Got chartreuse tape on that one. That fish trying to swim into the motor. That doesn't seem like a good plan.
The only thing you really need to change up when you're fishing for kokanee with these divers is you need to make sure that you loosen the release up on them.
Oh, big fish.
Yep.
Yeah, nice fish.
So you got 2 hooks on there. You hit this one deep.
Yeah, yeah. There he goes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about divers. But to get to the divers, we're going to kind of take the long trip around the barn. I'm going to give you my bio to kind of illustrate a point. So back in my other life, I was a special education teacher. And in my spare time, I'd gotten published in national magazines about 125 fishing and hunting articles. Then I saw an ad for a job at the Fish Sniffer magazine. I got that job, and within a few years, I was one of the owners of the Fish Sniffer magazine. Stayed there for 17 years. Then, somewhere in that process, I started shooting video. I started FHS Tackle, and here I am today. During that span of years, I saw a lot of fishing products. New products cross my desk all the time. Some of them were junk. Some of them didn't work. Some of them weren't really innovative. But there are a handful of products I can look back on and say, this product changed fishing. Let's run through a few of them. Power bait. Okay, prior to power bait, we were all running around with Velveeta cheese and salmon eggs. After power bait hit the market and people started using it, Velveeta went away, and guys are still fishing with power bait today. Fluorocarbon line. I started catching fish that I couldn't catch if I wasn't using fluorocarbon line. Then I saw charter boat skippers in San Francisco Bay, dirty water fishery, fishing for halibut, start using fluorocarbon line because it increased their scores. Braided line. Prior to braid, when we were sturgeon fishing, we were using 25 or 30 pound test mono. Same thing when we were lingcod fishing. Very little feel of the bottom, pretty sloppy. Then we started using braid. It allowed us to use smaller reels, lighter tackle, and be very, very effective. More effective than we'd ever been when we were fishing mono. That absolutely changed fishing. And I'm going to tell you, divers. Using divers, and I owe a debt of gratitude to my buddy Robert Hauer, because he was the first guy that turned me on to the effectiveness of the Dipsy Diver up at Lake Shasta. His buddy is Jeff Goodwin of Jeff Goodwin Guide Service up there. And Jeff, he played around with Dipsies a lot too. Him and Robert, they were always corresponding. And then they started using these. And we seldom use the Dipsies anymore. These are Chinook Divers. They are absolutely amazing. 60% of the trout that were caught on my guide boat this spring came on Chinook Divers, particularly this one right here. This number 2 fuchsia pink paint on it, or tape on it rather. Just money. I caught so many trout for my clients with this one right here. They will almost always outfish a downrigger at the same depth. I just came back from Shasta. I was with Robert. And, it's warm. Surface temp, 80 degrees or just short of 80 degrees. Trout down deep, 70, 75 feet. He didn't even have his downriggers on the boat. He was running 4 divers, and we just put a whipping on the trout. It was incredible fishing. We could have been off the lake at 8:30 with limits. I mean, it was incredible fishing. So, if you're not fishing Chinook Divers, get your hands on some and start playing with them. We have an in-depth tutorial here on the channel about how to fish them. The thing I want you to take away from this is a presentation that is changing the way that me and some of my associates fish for trout. Devastatingly effective. They work for kokanee. They work for kinks. They work for trout. They work for bass, believe it or not. Color matters, and that tells me one thing. The fish are absolutely attracted to these guys. You're going to see us using them more and more and more. I'm trying to get them in our store. Right now, the best place to buy them is on a website called Fish USA. But get yourself some Chinook Divers. Get them in the water. Learn how to use them. They're a little quirky. There's a learning curve that you're going to have to go through. But when you get your diver technique dialed in, look out, baby, because you're going to catch a ton of fish on them. Biggest fish on this diver this year, 10 pounds, 6 ounces, right beside the boat. That's the other thing you learn about divers real quick. There are fish right next to your boat. That 10 pound, 6 ounce trout we caught, I had out 17 feet of line running this diver off the bow. So the fish was 17 feet away. When that fish jumped, it looked like he was going to jump into the couch on the pontoon boat. It was incredible. Get some divers. Learn how to use them. Thank me later. So when I set out to make this video, I knew there were going to be, I was going to have 4 major takeaways from the spring and summer season. But I got a question for you guys. Do you want to go out and have a mediocre day on the water, or do you want to have an exceptional day on the water? Do you want to catch near limits or full limits? Well, the answers are obvious. You want to catch as many fish as possible, right? Absolutely. Well, at this point, almost all the guides on the Catch America team have their own scents, including me. I've got trigger scent right there. For a long time, I was really kind of ambivalent about using scents when I was trolling for anything except kokanee. But fishing with Nate, fishing with Brian Ricucci, fishing with Monty Smith, fishing with clients myself, it's really driven home how critical it is to use scent. Can you catch fish without scent? Absolutely. But you're going to catch 15 or 20% more fish if you use a scent you have confidence in. Now, all of our guides that have developed scents, obviously, Nate's confidence scent is whatever he had him put in that jar that makes up Chrome Killer. Same for me. This is minnow and anise scents, paired with aminos, paired with the UV gel. I'm super confident in it, and I have a really hard time fishing without it on my baits at this point, because I know I can catch fish without it. Absolutely, no problem. I can catch fish without trigger scent, but if I'm using it, I'm going to catch that 15 to 20% more fish. And when I've got clients on the boat, that's the difference between near limits and limits. It's the difference between a mediocre day and an exceptional day. We want every day out on the water to be an exceptional day. Use that fluorocarbon leader material and use scent. It's never going to hurt you, and most of the time, in most situations, it's going to help you by helping you hook another 15 to 20% of fish in terms of the number of fish that you hook. If you go out on the lake and you hook 10 fish without scent, if you were using scent, you might have got 12 or 14, and maybe one of those extra fish would have been a really big fish. You need to be using scent, guys. That's it for now. I'm out of here. This sun is starting to get hot. I want you to reflect on all the information I gave you. If you could take a couple of these tips or these observations, if you could take them to heart, put them to use out on the water, I know it's going to help you be a better fisherman. It's going to help you catch more fish. And you know what I always say, if you're catching more fish, you're going to catch more big fish. What is my goal here on the Catch America channel? I want to help you catch more and bigger fish. I'm Kellogg. I hope you enjoyed this discussion of, my reflections on the spring and summer season. I'll catch you next time right here on the Catch America channel. You be safe, and I'll see you out on the water.